Do you want to get up to 150 million credits per hour from Exobiology? Then this video is for you. Welcome to Elite Dangerous. I am Papa Wolf. In this video, we will start off with a short overview on what is exobiology. Then I'll give you the lowdown on what you need to do to get the 150 million credits per hour, and then a bit of advice for the ones who are new to exobiology. And for the rest of the video, we will join me on 3 trips where I made a total of over 2 billion credits in 15 hours of game time. And we'll look a bit more on the details on what you need to do. In the description to this video, you will find links to go to the parts of the video that interest you the most. Shout out to Alex Docius, who commented on one of my other videos and clued me in on the method I'll be describing to you in this video. It was new to me, and I'm sure that much of this is new to others. And so those of you who already knew all this, keep an eye out for the details and give me a comment to correct any mistakes you may spot. Now, let's get on with it. Most of the stars in the galaxy have one or more planets, and about 1 of 20 in these planets have an atmosphere, and we can land on the ones with a thin or tenuous atmosphere. On some of these planets you'll find indigenous life forms. I'd say about 1 in 5 of the planets with atmosphere has life. The Elite Dangerous exobiology life forms come in patches of bacteria or small grass-like growths, in groups of medium-sized or large plant-like growths, or spread out larger life forms sprinkled around the planet, sometimes closer, other times farther between. Each life form has its own growth conditions, and some can be found all over the planet, others in large areas of the planet, and still others in small areas or very specific landscape types. You need to disembark on the planet and take 3 samples of each life form and bring back the samples to the Vista Genomics office in a starport or fleet carrier. This will give you from 1 million credits and up to 95 million credits per sampled life form, so if you do it right, you can make a lot of credits. To do exobiology, you first of all need to have an Artemis suit. This is the only suit that has the genetic sampler tool, which you need to get the samples. Then you need to find the planets that have life forms, and in the most basic form this can be done with a bit of patience and any ship with a detailed surface scanner. Most often you will need to travel quite far, so you will be well off with a long-range ship with a fuel scoop. I prefer the Mandalay, but the Asp Explorer and Diamondback Explorer will also do fine. Later in this video we will join me on my exobiology trips, where we'll talk a bit more about the details of the do's and don'ts of exobiology. But now I'll give you a condensed step-by-step guide on how to maximize your credits per hour with exobiology. First of all, we need to get away from the bubble of human civilization. This is because the big bucks are in samples of life forms on planets that no other commander has scanned yet. Until around 1,000 light years from the bubble, just about everything has been discovered and scanned, and we need to get at least 500 more light years away to consistently find planets with life forms that have not yet been sampled by others. Also, you will do best to avoid the frequently traveled routes, that is, towards Colonia, towards Sagittarius A, the top of the galaxy, as well as the nearest nebulas. If you can hitch a ride on a fleet carrier to very far from the bubble and back, then you will be very well off, but otherwise you need to choose a good direction and go far enough to avoid where others have been before. I recommend plotting a course about 45 degrees towards the inner bottom of the galaxy, about 1500 to 2000 light years from the bubble, preferably more. To maximize your earnings, you should find Stratum tectonicus. This is by far the easiest one to find out of the species, giving the maximum amount of credits. This can be found on high metal content planets with temperatures above 165 Kelvin. This means that you should aim for stars that are warm but not too hot, optimally K-type stars. They can be found on planets orbiting M or G or even F-type stars, but chances are better in K-type star systems. I recommend that after you arrive at about 2,000 light years from the bubble, you filter your galaxy map to show only K-type stars and check the option to apply filter to route. Then, under route settings, you should check the economical routes option, and after that plot a course to a star 200 to 500 light years away, giving you at least 10 jumps. I'll give you a more detailed description in a minute, but the short version is that in each system you should search for high metal content planets with temperatures above 165 Kelvin. Arriving at the target planet, you do a detailed scan of the planet, and if it doesn't have stratum, then you leave and check the next planet or next system. Otherwise, land and sample the stratum and enjoy 95 million credit reward for each planet you discover with Stratum Tectonicus. For those of you who have already done a lot of exobiology, use the link in the description to jump forward and join me in my travels. But if you are relatively new to exobiology, here is a more detailed description on how to do it. When you jump into each system, you activate the Discovery Scanner, or hunk the system as some call it. Make note of how many planets are in the system, and then you check the system map to find something that looks like a landable high metal content planet with atmosphere. If all planets are shown in a system map and none of them are landable high metal content planets with atmosphere, then you can just close the system map and move on to the next star system. If you see one or more candidate planets, you can choose either to plot a course and get detailed information by going close to them, or you can open the full spectrum system scanner to scan them and get the detailed information on them that way. You also open the full spectrum system scanner if you don't see all the planets in the system and you suspect that there might be some relatively close to the star or a companion star. When you have the detailed information on the candidate planets, you look for surface temperature. This usually displays a range of temperatures, and the maximum of the range should be at least 165 Kelvin, preferably much above that. 165 Kelvin is about minus 108 Celsius or minus 162 Fahrenheit. For K-type stars, this means that a planet usually has to be within 500 up to 1,000 light seconds from the star. But some stars can be a bit warmer and some atmospheres a bit thicker, so sometimes you'll be able to find planets with temperatures above 165 Kelvin at up to 1500-1800 light seconds from the star. But anything beyond that is too cold for Stratum Tectonicus, unless of course the planet orbits a companion star. Then you need to fly to the planet and do a detailed surface scan. If you've engineered your detailed surface scanner, it is quite easy to do a full scan while meeting the efficiency target number of probes. But don't worry if you use more. This only affects a small bonus you'll get on the exploration data, not the exobiology data. After the detailed scan, you can see how many types of life forms are on the planet. And the blue markings will show where you can find the specific type of life form. If there are more than one type of life form, you can scroll through and see the blue markings for each type. The blue markings will keep showing after you exit the scan, as long as you're in Supercruise and you have the analysis mode activated on the ship. If you switch to combat mode, the blue markings will disappear, but they will be shown again when you switch back to analysis mode. If you want to see the blue markings for another type of life form, you have to activate the detailed scan again, which you can do while in Supercruise and at a minimum distance from the planet, some 100 to 200 kilometers. When you choose where to land, find a place with daylight and relatively flat ground. Believe me, you don't want to not be able to see, and you will want to be able to find somewhere to land. But fortunately, Stratum Tectonicus are usually found in open land. Once you've landed near the Stratum Tectonicus, you disembark and scan the Stratum Tectonicus with your genetic sampler tool. You need to take at least 3 samples, and Stratum Tectonicus has a clonal colony range of at least 500 meters, so that's how far you need to go to find the next place to sample. If there are other life forms nearby, you can scan them as well for the extra credits, but if you need to search for them, then don't bother, as all of them pay significantly less than the Stratum tectonicus. Now, as to how this actually works in practice, I'll take you with me on the 3 trips that I made to test exobiology, and the first trip was just me continuing what I had been doing up until then and scanning everything that I saw. I did have a preference for the Cape-type stars, but I didn't look too much on the temperatures of the planets. Whenever I found a planet that looked like it could have some life, I scanned it, and if it had any life, I would land and scan all of it. For this trip, I used 10 hours, and it got me a total of 587 million credits. This amounts to 58.7 million credits per hour. And as you can compare with the number I put out in the start of the video, that is not how to do it. For my second trip, I focused more on finding the Stratum tectonicus, and I set my route to go only to K-type stars, and this did help. I spent around 3 hours on this trip, and it brought me a total of 372 million credits, which amounts to 124 million credits per hour. This looks a lot better, but I had the suspicion that I should focus more on finding Stratum tectonicus exclusively. So for my third trip, I made a hard choice that if I could not see the other life forms, then I would not look for them to scan them. And I scanned almost exclusively Stratum tectonicus. And this paid off. I used a total of 5.5 hours on the third trip, and this gave me 816 million credits, amounting to 148 million credits per hour. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you haven't made your first billion credits, this is definitely the fastest way to do it. Again, if you have noticed anything in this video needing correction, please let me know in the comments. Any constructive input is welcome. Thank you for joining me. See you in the next video.